a drone captured a stunning image of a large body of water that appeared to be a lake. However, this would turn out to be more than wrong. Patrick, who captured the footage, had no idea what he got himself into when he posted the video online. Because the scientist he met because of that video made his life a living hell, Patrick knew something strange was going on, but no one wanted to tell him. Men in white lab coats surrounded the lake. Every one of them was doing something to or around the lake. They were taking samples and writing things down, all while looking deadly serious. Patrick knew this lake was bad news, but they were keeping him in the dark. He asked Sven, one of the leading scientists, what the hell was going on. But Sven gave him a stern look and said, "We're waiting for a few test results. No one is allowed to leave until those results come back. So sit tight and shut up." Patrick's heart began to race. This is not good, he thought. Suddenly, Patrick was startled by a loud scream. "Everyone get away from the lake!" He watched as the scientists ran away and disappeared into their tents. But before we start our story, smash the like button, make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. Patrick just got a new drone. He wanted to buy one for a very long time and finally saved up enough to buy the latest model. But he was a bit hesitant to fly it just yet. He planned on using the drone for his private use. And just between us, his reasons weren't always legal. Patrick bought the drone for a very specific purpose. He knew exactly where he would fly the drone and what he wanted to capture, but it was a little dangerous. He had to be 100% sure he could fly it like a pro, otherwise he would lose his expensive new drone in an instant. Because of this, Patrick decided he should practice first, and he knew just the place for it. There was a big forest a few miles from his house where no one ever came. It had been fenced off for a long time, and Patrick thought it would be the perfect place. Little did he know what he was about to stumble upon. Patrick headed over to the forest the next day and set up his drone. He sat in the back of his truck and watched his screen as the drone lifted up. He let the drone hover in the same place for a bit and slowly let the drone go higher and higher until he was right above the treetops. He couldn't wait any longer and flew his drone over the forest. He watched from above and realized he was actually doing it. Everything went very smoothly, and Patrick flew his drone over the forest for almost an hour. But there was one thing he didn't keep in mind, and it was about to go really wrong. A drone can't fly forever. At some point, the battery will die. Patrick got the pop-up to recharge his drone and immediately knew he had to get his drone back to him as soon as possible. But when he flew his drone back, he saw something he hadn't seen before. The drone flew over an open field with a huge lake. But there was something about this lake that caught Patrick's attention. The lake had gorgeous, deep, dark water, and there was something mesmerizing about it. So much so that he let the drone hover above to get a better and longer look. Patrick was so mesmerized by the lake that he let his drone hover above just a little too long, and before he could do anything about it, his screen went black and his drone fell from the sky. "Shit," Patrick said out loud. He knew there was only one thing he could do. He got behind the wheel of his truck and drove straight through the fences surrounding the forest. No one was supposed to go in, but he had to get his drone back no matter the cost. He drove like a lunatic through the dense forest to get to his drone, but he had no idea what he got himself into. He found the open field fairly easy. He just followed the sunlight shining through the trees. But when he got to the field and laid eyes on the lake for real, his mouth fell open. He instantly forgot why he was there in the first place. He slowly got out of his truck and just stared at the lake. This lake was unlike anything Patrick had ever seen before. The water glistened in the sunlight and had a deep marine blue color, but the waves made the water brighter, almost like it had changed its color, and that wasn't even the most unique thing about it. There was something else. Around the lake lay beautiful golden yellow sand. Patrick walked over and, without thinking, took off his shoes. He would never forget the feeling of walking through the warm and soft sand for the first time. After a little bit, he looked to the side of the lake and noticed something shiny in the grass. That's when he suddenly remembered why he was there: his drone. He ran to it and carefully inspected the drone for any damages. And to his surprise, the drone had only a few scratches. Patrick quickly put the drone in his car, took one final look at the lake, and drove home, posting the video online. At home, there was only one thing Patrick could think about: the lake. He looked at the footage he had captured with his drone and felt compelled to share it with the world. After posting the video, Patrick went to bed. That night, he had the most amazing dream about the lake. But when he woke up the next morning and checked his email, all the bliss from that dream quickly went away. Someone wrote him an email that changed his life forever. Someone named Sven Vitovsky emailed Patrick about the lake. He claimed to be a scientist and wanted to set up a meeting. Patrick was very confused by the unexpected email, but figured there wasn't much that could go wrong. So they arranged to meet that same day. That was his first mistake. They arranged to meet at a local restaurant. When Patrick arrived, Sven sat at a table in the back of the room. He wore a long beige coat and square glasses and looked like a real scientist, not that Patrick had ever met one before. They greeted each other but skipped the small talk. "This lake," Sven started, "where is it located?" Patrick didn't mind Sven's straight-to-the-point approach and told him everything that happened that day. He felt strangely at ease in Sven's presence, but that was about to change. Because as they walked out of the restaurant, Patrick's vision became blurry, and soon everything went black. Patrick woke up feeling drowsy. He slowly lifted his head but had difficulty opening his eyes as he had to look in a bright light. But he quickly realized he wasn't at home. He was in an almost empty room with just a bed, a toilet, and two chairs facing each other. The door of the room opened, and Sven walked in wearing a white lab coat and gloves. "Hello, Patrick. Sorry for all of this, but you have to believe me when I say it was necessary." Patrick tried to get up but fell back on the bed. "Easy," Sven said with a slight smile, and Patrick dozed off again. A crazy shaking feeling awoke Patrick, but when he opened his eyes, everything was still black. He could hear the engine of a car and realized he had to be in the back of one. "Where are you taking me?" he yelled, his voice riddled with fear. "Everything will fall into place in a moment, Patrick." Sven took Patrick to the lake, which was taped off and guarded by police officers. Patrick had no idea that there was something wrong with the lake, but Sven explained everything when they got there. Apparently, the lake wasn't a lake after all. There once was a big hole in the ground, and someone used it to dispose of biohazard waste. The lake was pumped empty, and Patrick was allowed to go home under one condition. He had to delete all the footage he had and swear never to return to this forest. Patrick, who was just happy he was even allowed to go home, agreed with these terms and returned home safely.